Why does your horse listen perfectly one day and completely ignore you the next? Same horse, same command, same you, completely different result. Most owners blame the horse. The horse is being stubborn. The horse is having a bad day. The horse is testing them. Every single one of those explanations is wrong. The real answer is in the science. And once you understand why expert trainers get results that most owners never achieve, you will never approach a training session the same way again. Welcome to Wild Mind Pets. Let's get into it. Confusion, not disobedience. Why number one? When your horse ignores a command, it is almost never disobedience. It is almost always confusion. Here is the science. A horse's brain learns through a process called associative learning. It does not understand language. It does not understand your intention. It understands one thing only: what action immediately preceded what consequence. If the signal you give is even slightly inconsistent, a different leg position, a slightly different hand pressure, a slightly different body angle, the horse is not receiving the same input it received last time. It genuinely does not recognize it as the same command. Expert trainers know this, which is why they are almost pathologically consistent. Same position, same pressure, same timing, every single repetition, not because they are rigid, because the horse's brain requires consistency to form a reliable association. When a horse trained by an expert performs a command with what looks like instant obedience, that is not a smarter horse. That is a cleaner signal. The trainer eliminated the confusion, and the horse responded to clarity. Applied Animal Behavior Science, 2025. Signal consistency is the single most significant predictor of training success in horses, above reward type, session length, or training frequency. The 3-second rule. Why number two? Expert trainers have a rule most amateurs have never heard of. The 3-second rule. A horse's brain can only associate a consequence with a behavior if that consequence arrives within approximately 3 seconds of the behavior. After 3 seconds, the association breaks. The horse's brain cannot connect the reward or the correction to what it just did. It connects it to whatever it is doing right now. This is why praising your horse 30 seconds after it did something right teaches it nothing. This is why correcting a horse a minute after it misbehaved makes things worse, not better. The horse is not connecting your correction to its earlier behavior. It is connecting it to whatever it was doing in the moment you corrected it. Standing quietly, looking at you, breathing. Expert trainers are obsessed with timing because timing is not just technique. Timing is the entire mechanism of learning. Get it wrong, and you are not training. You are confusing, and a confused horse is a frustrated horse, and a frustrated horse is an unsafe horse. Equine learning theory: the critical window for behavioral association in horses is 2 to 3 seconds. Beyond this, the horse cannot link consequence to action. Why punishment makes horses worse. Why number three? And this one might be the most important thing in this entire video. Why do expert trainers almost never punish? Not because they are soft, not because they do not have standards, because punishment, in the scientific sense, actively damages the horse's ability to learn. When a horse experiences punishment, pain, fear, aggressive pressure, its nervous system enters what scientists call the threat state. In a threat state, the brain prioritizes survival over learning. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for forming new associations and processing complex information, goes offline. The amygdala, the alarm system, takes over. A horse in a threat state cannot learn. It can only react. Every session that involves significant punishment is a session where learning stops and survival behavior begins. And survival behavior, bolting, bucking, biting, shutting down, is exactly what most owners are trying to eliminate. Expert trainers use pressure, not punishment. They apply and release. Apply and release. The release is the reward. The absence of pressure tells the horse's brain, you did the right thing. The nervous system stays calm. Learning continues. The horse progresses.
equine welfare science, training that produces fear responses, suppresses hippocampal learning pathways, and increases amygdala driven reactive behavior, the opposite of training goal.
Pressure, not pain. Why number 4? Why do experts use pressure instead of pain? And what is the actual difference? And the science behind this is called negative reinforcement. And it is one of the most misunderstood concepts in all of horse training. Negative does not mean bad. In scientific terms, negative means removal. You apply something, pressure, and you remove it when the horse gives the right response. The removal of pressure is what teaches. A horse's brain is wired to seek the release of pressure. This is not a quirk. This is evolution. For a prey animal, pressure means threat. Removing pressure means safety. The horse's nervous system is built to work toward safety, which means it will repeat whatever behavior led to that safety. Expert trainers understand this so deeply that they spend as much time thinking about when to release as they do thinking about when to apply. The release is the lesson. The pressure is just the question. And the timing of the release, back to why number 2, is everything. Pain works differently. Pain escalates. Pain produces fear. And fear, as we just covered, shuts learning down. Pressure with immediate release produces learning. Pain without release produces damage to the horse and to the relationship. Negative reinforcement pressure release is the primary mechanism of professional horse training globally. 2025 ISES, International Society for Equitation Science Guidelines. Why timing is everything. Why number 5. All of this and the consistency, the 3-second window, the pressure and release only works if one final element is in place. And this is the element that separates trainers who get results from those who spend years going in circles. Emotional regulation, their own. Expert trainers know that a horse reads their emotional state before it reads any physical signal, their heart rate, their cortisol level, the quality of their breathing, the tension in their hands. All of it arrives in the horse's nervous system before the first command is given. A trainer who enters the arena frustrated, impatient, or anxious has already compromised the session before it began. The horse's nervous system has read the emotional input and calibrated accordingly. It is more alert, more reactive, more likely to produce exactly the behaviors the trainer is hoping to avoid. Expert trainers practice what behavioral scientists call emotional neutrality, the ability to stay calm, consistent, and regulated regardless of what the horse does. Not because they do not care, because they understand that their own state is the most powerful variable in the entire training equation. You can have perfect technique, perfect timing, perfect consistency, and if you arrive at the stable, emotionally activated, your horse already knows, and the session is already compromised. 2024, Frontiers in Veterinary Science, trainer emotional state measurably affects horse cortisol, heart rate variability, and behavioral compliance before any physical training cue is delivered. The twist have been what amateurs do wrong here is what this all means, and it is not what most people expect. The difference between an expert trainer and an amateur is not years of experience. It is not natural talent with horses. It is not some mystical connection that certain people are born with. It is understanding. Understanding how a horse's brain actually processes information. Understanding that the horse is not being stubborn. It is confused by an inconsistent signal. Understanding that the correction that came 5 seconds too late taught nothing. Understanding that the raised voice and the aggressive energy arrived in the horse's nervous system before any physical aid and already began the session on the wrong foot. Expert trainers are not horse whisperers. They are scientists who happen to work with horses, and their results come not from doing more, but from understanding more. The good news is that understanding is learnable, and every session you have with your horse from this point forward can be different if you bring what you now know into that arena with you. Subscribe to Wild Mind Pats. Leave a comment below. Which of these 5 reasons surprised you most? And tell me, has your horse ever done something in a training session that you now understand differently? I will read every single one, because the more you understand your horse, the better everything gets. See you in the next one.